Hello and welcome to Lost Love Chronicles.
Dear listeners, before we get started, drop a quick hi in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, if you have any suggestions for us to make the channel better, please let us know. Now let's start with the story. I'm Aiden, 37, and I've been married to my wife Rebecca, 35, for 15 years. We have two amazing kids, 13 and 10. Last month was our wedding anniversary, and we decided to celebrate it at home. Just us, the kids, and a few close friends. I'd put thought into the night. I planned the evening to reflect everything we'd built together. I even got her a gift I knew she'd love. The evening started off great. We had dinner, shared stories, laughed with our friends, and even got some sweet reactions from the kids when we cut the anniversary cake. I handed her the gift, a necklace with a charm that matched the one she wore back in college. She smiled and hugged me, and for a moment, I thought everything was perfect. But I started noticing she was a little off. She kept checking her phone when she thought no one was watching. She'd disappear into the hallway or step outside for a few minutes, always with the phone in hand. I tried to brush it off. Maybe she had some surprise planned for me. It was our anniversary. Maybe she was working with one of our friends to put something together. At around 8 p.m., the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone else. No other deliveries, no more guests. I thought maybe it was a neighbor or a mix-up. But before I could even react, she shot up from the couch like she'd been waiting for it all night. "I'll get it," she said quickly, too quickly, her voice a little too eager. It was enough to make me sit up straighter. Out of instinct, or maybe suspicion, I got up and followed her. The kids, curious as always, trailed right behind me. She opened the door, and there stood this guy. He was holding a huge bouquet of flowers and a bottle of champagne. He had on a polo shirt with some logo, like he was a delivery guy from one of those boutique gift services. I didn't recognize him. Never seen him in my life. He smiled big and said, "Special delivery for the lovely couple. Happy anniversary." Okay, I'll admit, for a second, it looked like a sweet gesture. I even thought maybe one of our friends had sent it. Or maybe she had arranged something cute. But then the air shifted. As he handed her the flowers, he leaned in just a little too close and said in a lower voice, "You look gorgeous tonight, babe." Time froze. I was standing right behind her. And I heard it, clear as day, "Babe." The hell? I stepped forward immediately. "The F, babe," I snapped, my voice low but sharp. That's not something you call a stranger. Or a customer. Especially not in front of her husband and kids. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't have to. The look I gave him said everything. And then I looked at my wife. She turned beet red. Not the kind of red where you're surprised and laughing. No, this was the kind of red that screamed guilt and panic. She gave a nervous little laugh, eyes darting from me to the kids like she was trying to figure out how bad it looked. Our 13-year-old's eyes went wide. He definitely heard it. My 10-year-old furrowed his brow and whispered up at me, "Did he just call Mom, babe?" I clenched my jaw. I was still holding it together. Barely. I turned back to the guy, stepped in close enough that he had no doubt who I was, and said, slow and deliberate, "Excuse me, what did you just say?" And I gave him a hard look. He looked at me like he was just now realizing I was standing right there, like the husband whose anniversary it was. Instead of backing down or apologizing, he gave this casual chuckle and said, "Oh, I was just, making sure I had the right address. The hot MILF at the door matches the description." I blinked. Did he really just say that? And then, I swear to God, he winked at her. Winked. At my wife. In front of me. In front of our kids. My blood pressure spiked so fast I felt heat shoot through my skull. I heard my daughter gasp behind me. "EW what?" she said, clearly horrified. My 10-year-old just looked puzzled, his brow furrowed, glancing from me to the man like he was still trying to figure out what the hell MILF even meant. Meanwhile, my wife looked like she was about to come apart at the seams. She stepped forward quickly, grabbed a champagne bottle from him with this tight, forced smile, and said, "Thanks. That'll be all." She tried to sound polite, like nothing was wrong, but I could hear the edge in her voice. The panic, the desperation. She was trying to shut him down before he said something even worse. She practically shoved him backward, one hand on the door, guiding him out like she was trying to clean up a mess before it exploded. I stood there frozen. There was a part of me that wanted to drag that guy off the porch and knock his damn teeth out, and another part that was hyper-aware my kids were watching this. Listening. Processing. I had to keep my composure. "Enjoy, beautiful. See you around," the guy said casually as he turned to leave, like he hadn't just dropped a live grenade into our home. I watched him walk down the driveway, still stunned. Then I shut the door, harder than I meant to, and turned to my wife. The kids were still standing in the foyer, silent and wide-eyed. I forced a steady breath and put on the calmest voice I could manage. "Why don't you two go enjoy the cake in the kitchen? We'll be right there." My daughter looked at me, her expression tight, like she wanted to say something but didn't know if she should. She took her brother's hand and led him toward the kitchen without a word. As soon as they were out of sight, I turned to my wife. She had her back to me, fiddling with the lock like it was jammed, though it clearly wasn't. She just didn't want to face me. What the hell was that about? I asked, voice low but sharp. Do you know that guy? She hesitated, longer than she should have, before finally answering. It's nothing, she said quickly. He was just some delivery driver. Probably confused our house with someone else's or got too friendly, I guess. Let's not let it ruin the evening, okay? She started to brush past me, but I stepped into her path and blocked her, not letting it slide. Not after that. He called you babe and MILF, I whispered harshly. That's not normal delivery guy behavior. How would a random delivery guy even know you're a mom? She crossed her arms over her chest and avoided my eyes. I don't know. Maybe he's just a creep, she mumbled. I didn't invite him, if that's what you're thinking. He probably had the wrong address, my wife said, her voice brittle, and was just asking if this was the right place for the delivery. That explanation made absolutely no sense. He had the right address. No one randomly knocks on your door with a bouquet and a bottle of champagne and says happy anniversary without knowing exactly where he's going. The gifts were tailor-made for an anniversary, our anniversary. There was no doubt in my mind. And if he was supposedly lost, then why the hell did he call her babe? Why did he say she matched the description? My gut twisted. Every fiber in my body told me she was lying. I kept pressing. Why did he say, see you around like you two know each other? She flinched at that. I didn't miss it. And why? I continued. Did you look like a deer in headlights when you opened the door? You froze up. You looked guilty. Her eyes were glistening now, welling up with tears, but she wasn't breaking in the way I expected. She got defensive. I can't control what some random delivery creep says, she snapped. I was surprised, okay? Let it go. Please, can we just go back and finish the evening? I stood there for a few seconds, watching her tremble as her eyes darted toward the kitchen where our kids were laughing, clueless. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Not then. Not in front of them. So I forced myself to nod. Fine, I said. We'll talk later. The rest of the evening was unbearable. I was stiff, quiet, my thoughts racing in every direction. My wife tried to act like everything was fine, laughing too loud, asking the kids about school, thanking our friends for coming. But her hands trembled when she poured drinks. She avoided my eyes. And the kids, they weren't dumb. They knew something was wrong. We ended the party early. I helped clean up in silence, though I didn't touch the champagne. Just the sight of it turned my stomach. I imagined what it might taste like, bitter, poison with secrets. After we put the kids to bed, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I cornered her in the kitchen. I don't believe you, I said, my voice flat but sharp. That whole thing doesn't add up. She stared at me like I'd slapped her. I laid it out, piece by piece. A guy shows up right during our anniversary celebration, with champagne and flowers. Says happy anniversary. Calls you babe and MILF. Leans in like he knows you. Then says see you around. You expect me to believe he's just a delivery guy? She shook her head and wiped her eyes, but her expression didn't change. He must have been drunk. Or high or something, she said, her voice cracking. You're overreacting, Aiden. You're ruining our anniversary. You're turning this into something it's not. Then she started crying harder. Why are you interrogating me like this? On a special day? This is supposed to be our night. I felt like I was losing my mind. Like the entire evening had flipped upside down and I was the only one seeing it clearly. I didn't even respond. I couldn't. I just grabbed a pillow and blanket and went to the couch. There was no way I could lie next to her after that. The next morning, she was still asleep when I got up. I stared at the ceiling for a while, trying to convince myself I was imagining things. But I couldn't. I needed answers. Then I remembered the logo on the guy's polo shirt. It was from a local courier company. I'd seen their vans around town before. That detail stuck with me. So, I did something a little sneaky. I picked up my phone and called the courier company. My voice was calm, friendly, rehearsed. Hi, yeah, I said. I just wanted to check on a delivery that may have been dropped off at my address last night. I think there might have been a mix-up. They transferred me a couple of times until I got to a manager. He pulled up the logs and said, Sir, I'm not seeing any scheduled deliveries to your address that day. The manager's words echoed in my head. No scheduled deliveries to your address that day. And that was it. The flowers, the champagne, none of it was in their system. This wasn't some random delivery mistake. That man hadn't just happened to show up at the wrong house. He came here on purpose. Those gifts were intentional, planned. And my wife? She was the only one who seemed to know he was coming. She jumped up to answer the door like she'd been waiting all night. It was so clear now. I'd just been too trusting, too blind to see it. When she finally got up that morning, I didn't wait. I confronted her right away. The delivery company had nothing scheduled to our house yesterday, I told her. Nothing. No flowers. No champagne. No mix-up. That guy didn't work for them. So stop lying to me. I was expecting another wave of denial, maybe another made-up excuse. But this time she cracked. First, she stammered out. Oh, maybe it was a different company. Or like, a private service or something. I don't know. I shook my head. No, I'm done buying the lies. You know exactly who he is. You invited him. That hit her. I could see the way her shoulders sagged like all the air had left her body. Her mouth opened, but no words came for a second. Then finally, she admitted it. He's someone I know from work. I stared at her in disbelief. That was all she had. That vague half-truth? She rushed to add, I just asked him to drop off the gifts. That's all. I thought it would be a nice surprise, something different. A harmless way to make our anniversary more special. Harmless. I snapped. You thought having a man call you babe and MILF in front of me and our kids was harmless. She winced. I didn't expect him to say those things. That wasn't part of it. He must have misunderstood. I didn't tell him to talk like that. I could tell she was scrambling now, trying to rewrite the script in real time. But it was already falling apart. I pressed further. Is this the same guy you've been glued to your phone about for months? The one you've been texting every time you think I'm not looking? Her eyes flickered. I noticed, you know, I said, voice low, controlled. All the late-night texting. All the secrecy. I thought maybe you were planning something for me. Turns out I was right. You were planning something for yourself. That broke her. She turned away, tears already slipping down her face. She didn't deny it. She didn't have to. His name's Andrew, she whispered through a sob. Not his real name. But yes, we've been talking. For a while now. How long? I asked, not sure I wanted to know. A few months. And it started as what, friendship? She nodded, eyes red, not able to meet mine. We worked together on some projects. We just started talking, joking, then texting more. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't care what she meant to do. Have you slept with him? I asked bluntly. She looked up, finally facing me. No, not yet. But we've talked. We've flirted. A lot. It got emotional. I know that's cheating too. I know it is. I felt like the air was sucked from the room. My heart pounded like it wanted out of my chest. My hands were shaking, but I balled them into fists at my sides just to keep control. Then what? I asked. Why the hell would you bring him here? On our anniversary of all days. She hesitated. Her mouth opened and closed a few times before she finally gave me an answer I'll never forget. I needed to see, she whispered. I thought maybe, if I saw you both together, it would help me figure out what I really wanted. I couldn't speak. I was so stunned I felt sick. You invited him here, I said, barely able to push the words out. To compare us. Her silence was confirmation enough. In front of our kids. I said, voice rising despite myself. You put us all through that just to see who measured up? She broke into sobs, clutching her arms like they were the only thing holding her together. I wasn't thinking clearly. I was confused. Part of me thought maybe seeing you two in the same place would make things click. I thought maybe if I saw you side by side, I'd know. She sniffed and looked at me, her face soaked. I wanted to see who I really wanted. I felt like I was in some kind of nightmare. So what? You wanted us to compete. See who made a stronger impression at the door? What kind of twisted test was this? I don't know, she whispered. Maybe I thought you'd fight for me. Or maybe I hoped you would. I don't even know. She tried to justify it all like it made sense. Like she was the victim of some emotional confusion and just needed clarity. I've been feeling unhappy, she said, voice still shaking. Andrew was he's so charming. He listens, he notices little things. He makes me feel seen. She paused and looked at me through tear-filled eyes. I wanted to know if what I was feeling was real or just a fantasy, she continued. I thought seeing him next to you, with our life, our kids, it would help me figure it out. My stomach turned. She was still trying to paint this like some kind of emotional experiment. Like what she did was rational, measurable, defensible. Then she said something that made my jaw clench tight. I thought if you saw someone else was interested in me, you'd step up, she said quietly. I thought we'd rekindle things. That maybe it would wake something up in us. I couldn't even speak for a second. I just stared at her. You arranged AF ******** ing honeypot. I finally said, my voice flat. On our anniversary. In our home. With our kids in the room. She winced, but I didn't stop. You used another man as bait. To see if I'd get jealous enough to fight for you? That's what this was. She didn't answer. She didn't have to. I stood there, looking at the woman I'd loved for 15 years, and something just broke. Snapped clean in two. I felt it, like a rope that finally frayed beyond repair. I'm done, I said, quiet but firm. Her eyes widened. What? There's nothing left to fight for, I said. If you didn't already know you wanted me, this family, then you don't deserve it. She stepped toward me, panicked. Please, don't say that. I made a mistake. I know I did. A huge one. But I love you. I love the kids. I wasn't thinking straight. I thought. You invited him. I cut in, my voice rising despite myself. You invited him into our home. Let him stand at our door, call you babe, call you MILF, in front of our children. And you stood there letting it happen. That's not a mistake. That's a string of conscious, humiliating decisions. She broke down again, sobbing, clutching her arms, pleading. Please don't do this. Don't make a rash decision. Please talk to me. We can fix this. I'll do anything. But to me, this wasn't rash. Not in the slightest. This is clarity, I told her. I've never been more sure of anything in my life. She followed me down the hall as I grabbed a duffel bag, tossing in clothes, toothbrush, chargers, whatever I could grab. You're throwing this away? She begged. After all we've been through. I'm not throwing anything away, I said. You did that. I'm just not sticking around to be humiliated again. I didn't scream. I didn't lash out. I just zipped up my bag and walked to the kids' room. I knelt down and gently woke them up. Hey guys, I said softly. Mom and I had a pretty big argument. We just need a little space, so we're going to spend a couple of days at Uncle Evan's, all right? They were groggy, confused, but they nodded. I didn't say anything bad about her. I didn't poison them against their mom. I didn't have to. My daughter looked at me with wide eyes that said more than she knew how to. She knew. At least part of it. Later that night, I overheard her texting her mom. She didn't show me the message, but I saw the typing, the long pauses. Heard the quiet sniffles when she thought I wasn't listening. The moment the courthouse opened on the next business day, I was there, filing for divorce. No second guessing. No cooling down period. Because this wasn't something I'd regret later. This wasn't just some explosive fight. It was betrayal. It was a game. And it was a violation I couldn't forgive. Of course, people in my life had opinions. They always do. You're acting too fast, some of them said. You should at least try marriage counseling. Why not take a break? Cool off. See if you could rebuild trust. Even my own mother, who normally can't say enough good things about my wife, was floored when I told her what happened. I know you're hurt, she said gently, but marriage is for better or worse. Maybe this thing was just emotional. Something you could work through. She meant well. She always does. But hearing her try to frame this as a rough patch we could therapy our way through felt like a gut punch. This wasn't worse. This wasn't midlife confusion or a little flirtation gone too far. This was planned betrayal, executed in our home, on the night that was supposed to celebrate our commitment. Then came the texts and calls from mutual friends. Some were supportive, others, not so much. One message said, "Are you sure you're not overreacting? Maybe it was just a prank gone wrong or something." That one made me want to throw my phone against the wall. Because that prank excuse? That was the exact same lie my wife tried to sell them too. It infuriated me. She was already rewriting the story, doing damage control, spinning her deliberate, cruel choice into some harmless joke gone sideways. From where I stood, there was no misunderstanding. There was no prank. There was just a woman who invited her affair partner into our home and stood there while he called her babe and MILF in front of me and our children. And now, here I am, divorce paperwork filed, camped out at my brother Evan's house, trying to keep it together for the kids. I've got my overnight bag, a cot in the spare room, and 2 kids sleeping just down the hall, asking questions I barely know how to answer. Meanwhile, my wife, no, my SDBX, has been lighting up my phone like a Christmas tree, apologizing in one breath, then accusing me of abandoning the family in the next. I've barely responded, only to coordinate drop-offs, kid schedules, or tell her to contact my lawyer. Everything else, I ignore. I'm done being manipulated. I'm still furious, still deeply hurt, but I'm staying civil. For my kids, they didn't ask for any of this. So why divorce and not counseling? Why walk away instead of trying to fix it? Because I know what I saw. I know what she did. And I know what she's doing now. She's still trying to control the narrative. Case in point, my phone rang last night. My mother-in-law, a woman I respect. She sounded concerned, even a little accusatory. "Aiden," she said, "I heard you're filing for divorce. Over a misunderstanding? With a delivery guy?" I blinked in disbelief. A misunderstanding? I repeated. "That's what she told us," my email said. "That some man came to the door, got confused about the address, and said something stupid. A joke, maybe. And you just exploded. That you packed up and left, and now you won't talk to her." I had to take a breath. I could feel my chest tightening. So I calmly asked, "What exactly did she tell you?" And that's when I got the full picture of her fantasy version. According to my wife, this man, Andrew, was a confused delivery guy. He showed up at the wrong house, asked for directions, and made a flirty comment like, "Oops, sorry babe, wrong house," and that was it. That I just lost it. That I overreacted. She left out everything. That she knew him. That she invited him. That he called her a MILF in front of our kids. That this was planned. I didn't yell. I didn't swear. I didn't rant. I just told my MIL the truth. Andrew is not a delivery guy, I said. He's the man your daughter has been emotionally involved with for months. She invited him to our anniversary party. Those gifts weren't random. They weren't a surprise for me. They were part of a setup. And yes, he called her babe. And MILF. Right in front of your grandkids. There was a long silence. Then my mother-in-law whispered, "Oh my God." I could hear the heartbreak in her voice. And then, something I never expected, she apologized. To me. "I'm so sorry, Aiden. I didn't know." I believed what she said. It was surreal. The woman who had once toasted our wedding anniversary with tears in her eyes was now apologizing for her daughter's lies. I could tell she was ashamed, confused, and heartbroken all at once. I felt bad for her. I really did. She didn't deserve to be caught in this. But I was also furious that my SDBX had put all of us in this mess, and now she was lying to everyone to make herself look like the victim. Apparently, she'd been spreading this same watered-down version of events to our friends too. According to her, I had overreacted to a misunderstanding. Two of our closest friends, a couple we've known since before the kids were born, invited me out for coffee. I could tell from the moment we sat down that this wasn't just a social catch-up. They were nervous, choosing their words carefully. We wanted to check in with you. One of them started. This whole thing, it happened so fast. Are you sure it's not a misunderstanding? I took a deep breath. I already knew where this was headed. She told us it was a prank, the other added. Like, an anniversary surprise that went wrong. She said it wasn't supposed to come off that way. That nothing actually happened. I stared at them both. For a second, I thought about laying out every detail, but I didn't need to. I kept it simple, calm. She invited her affair partner into our home. On our anniversary. In front of our kids. That's not a prank. That's a choice. And no, it wasn't a misunderstanding. They both got quiet after that. No one tried to argue. I think hearing it in my voice, the flat certainty, snapped them out of the fantasy she'd been spinning. But what really pissed me off was realizing she was out there painting me as the unhinged one. According to her, I was just some irrational, jealous husband who blew up our marriage because I thought I heard something that wasn't there. She was gaslighting everyone, friends, family, even trying it with the kids. And the worst part? I have proof. I could show the receipts, literal messages, and call logs. But at this point, I don't even care to prove it to everyone. Just a few key people. The ones who matter. Especially our kids. They deserve the truth, even if it's in pieces suited to their age. Speaking of the kids, they're doing better than I expected, all things considered. We've tried to keep them out of the adult mess, but kids are smart. My daughter? Sharp as a tack. Apparently, my SDBX tried feeding the same watered-down story to them. Told them the guy was just some silly delivery driver who got confused, and that daddy thought mommy knew him and got upset. A total spin job. But my daughter, God, I'm proud of her, shut that down fast. She told her mother point blank. I heard what he said. Both the babe and hot MILF comment. Don't treat me like I'm stupid. Delivery guys don't talk like that when they're lost. I wasn't there for that moment. I heard about it later from my wife. In an angry text. She wrote something like, "You've turned our daughter against me." She was rude. Disrespectful. This is your fault. No, it wasn't. I hadn't said anything to the kids to poison them against her. That was all her. I just gave my daughter a big hug the next time I saw her and said, "I'm proud of you for trusting your gut." My 10-year-old son, he's more protected from it all. I think he was confused by what he heard that night, and we've done our best to explain things in simple terms. Mom did something very hurtful to Dad, is about all he knows. And that's enough for now. But even he said something like, "That guy was weird," the other day. They feel the shift, even if they don't fully understand it. Right now, I'm back at the house with the kids. After I filed for divorce, she moved out, staying with one of her coworker friends. I'm not leaving our home. The kids need a stable environment, and bouncing them back and forth wasn't an option. So, we've been doing this informal week-on/week-off setup. When it's her week, she stays at the house with the kids, and I stay at Evan's place. It's awkward. Painfully awkward. But we're both trying, in our own ways, to keep the kids' lives as normal as possible while the legal stuff plays out. And yes, the papers have been served. She was furious. No surprise there. Since then, she's been texting nonstop. One minute it's "I can't believe you're doing this. You're destroying everything." And the next it's "Please, just talk to me. Please let's fix this." But my answer hasn't changed. I texted her back, just once. The time to talk was the night of our anniversary, before you decided to pull this stunt, not after. Right now, I'm only speaking to her as much as I have to, for the kids and legal matters. That's it. No emotion. No small talk. No cracks in the wall. It's been a rough couple of weeks. I won't lie. The initial surge of adrenaline and fury has cooled, and what's left behind is a heavy mix of sadness, numbness, and disbelief. I keep asking myself, how the hell did we get here? 15 years of marriage, and it ends with her staging some twisted side-by-side comparison between me and her affair partner on our anniversary. And still, I'd be lying if I said I didn't sometimes think, was I too hasty? Did I pull the plug too fast? But every time that thought even tiptoes into my mind, I force myself to picture that scene at the door, Andrew standing there, calling her babe and hot MILF, with my kids watching. And her just standing there, not pushing him away, not correcting him, just looking like she got caught red-handed. No, I wasn't hasty. I was late. I should have seen the signs sooner. Any shred of sympathy I have for her gets obliterated by the sheer arrogance of what she did and what she continues to do. She's not owning it. She's rewriting it, telling people I misheard, that I'm some crazy jealous husband who lost it over a misunderstood flirtation. If she was truly remorseful, she'd be honest. But no, she's more invested in salvaging her image than fixing what she shattered. So yeah, while she's out there telling people bedtime stories about confused delivery men, I've been quietly trying to piece myself together and move forward. Then came the moment I didn't plan, but maybe deep down, I needed. It was a few days after everything blew up. I went out with two of my closest friends to grab a beer at a local spot we've all been going to since our 20s. We were a couple pints in, talking about anything but the divorce, when I looked up and my stomach dropped. Andrew. He was at the pool table in the corner, laughing with two other guys, cue stick in hand. My pulse picked up instantly. I must have stared a little too hard because my friend Steve followed my gaze and leaned in. Is that him? He asked, voice low. Yeah, I said quietly. That's him. Steve stood up like he was ready to go over and rearrange the guy's face. I held up my hand. No, don't. That's not what this is. I had no interest in a bar fight. What I wanted, what I needed, was clarity. And the truth. From Andrew himself. So I did something I've never done before. I opened the voice recording app on my phone and hit record. Just in case. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe it was foresight. I didn't know what would be said, but I was tired of lies and revisionist history. I walked over to him, phone in my pocket, recording quietly. Andrew spotted me halfway there. I saw a flicker of recognition, and maybe even guilt, in his eyes. But to his credit, he didn't bolt. He just shifted uneasily, put the cue stick down, and braced himself. Got a minute? I asked, voice calm even. His buddies looked ready to jump in, but Andrew waved them off. Yeah, he said, nodding. Sure. We stepped to a quieter corner of the bar, away from the tables and music. Before he could say anything, I spoke first. I'm not here to start anything. I told him. I just want the truth. I know my wife invited you. I know something's been going on. Just be straight with me. No more games. Andrew exhaled and rubbed the back of his neck. Look, man, he said, I don't want trouble. I really don't. I'm not here for trouble, I said. I'm here for answers. Maybe it was the beers. Maybe he was just tired of pretending. But he gave them to me. And yeah, he confirmed everything. Every suspicion, every gut feeling, every denied detail. And I've got the whole conversation on tape. Well, digital recording, but you get me. Some standout bits from that conversation with Andrew hit like a gut punch. He admitted, straight up, that my wife had invited him to our house that night. Not just as a delivery guy or to drop something off, but as part of the gathering. According to him, she told him it was a casual, open house-style anniversary thing and that he should stop by. So all that garbage about him getting lost or mistaking the address. Complete and utter BS. She planned that. She told him to come. She was orchestrating the whole damn setup. He went on, and I'll never forget what he said next. She told me you guys were pretty much done, Andrew said, looking almost confused by my reaction. Like, separated. Or she was about to leave. I figured you knew she had someone new or that you two had some kind of arrangement. An arrangement. I nearly laughed. Grim, bitter laughter. My wife had sold this man a fantasy version of our marriage where she was a neglected victim, ready to walk away from a loveless home. She gave him permission to show up, to call her babe, to be there on our anniversary, because in his mind, it was already over. She told me you didn't appreciate her, he said. Those were his exact words. I felt sick. Not only had she been cheating, but she'd also been dragging my name through the mud to justify it, to make herself the sympathetic one. Andrew did apologize for what he said at the door. He admitted calling her those names was dumb, impulsive. I didn't realize your kids were right there, man. That was on me, he said. I nodded slowly, still listening, still recording. Then I asked the big one, the one I needed absolute clarity on. So, just to be 100% clear, I said, she invited you there, expecting I'd see you. And she told you she was ending our marriage. Andrew looked me straight in the eye and said, yes. She said she wanted me there because she was going to talk to you afterward and end it. She thought having me around, even just briefly, would, I don't know, give her confidence or something. She said you two were basically over. I'm sorry, man. That "I'm sorry, man" was accompanied by a shrug, like even he knew how pathetic the whole thing sounded. But what could he really say? He didn't owe me anything, not really. She did. I just nodded. And strangely, I didn't even feel like punching him anymore. I didn't feel that blind rage. What I felt was a mix of relief and disgust. Rage, too, but more toward her. Finally, I had clarity. Cold, brutal, honest clarity. I appreciate the honesty, I told him. I'm not going to pretend I'm okay with what you did. But she owed me loyalty, not you. At least you're owning up to it now. Andrew nodded, awkwardly. He scratched the back of his neck and said he felt bad about how things went down. He even told me he was shocked when he heard I filed for divorce so quickly. Apparently, my wife had painted me as a cold, neglectful jerk, basically trying to excuse what she was doing by demonizing me. The whole conversation probably lasted 10, maybe 15 minutes. I walked back to my friends with the recording still going in my pocket. Once we sat back down, I stopped the app and showed them that I'd captured the entire thing. They were stunned. One of them gave me a quiet bro hug and said, "Well, at least you've got the truth now, even if it sucks." Since then, I've made multiple copies of that recording, backups on backups. I transcribed the key parts myself and sent them to my lawyer, just in case it becomes relevant in court for the divorce or custody proceedings. I also played the important clips for my in-laws, her parents. I left out some names to keep it civil. They were devastated. My in-laws listened to the key parts of the recording in silence, eyes wide, faces pale. When it ended, my mother-in-law just shook her head slowly and whispered, "I'm so sorry, Aiden. I can't believe she would do this to you, to the kids." Her husband, normally the quiet type, put a hand on my shoulder and nodded, saying, "We're here for you and for them, no matter what." It was a small comfort in a sea of emotional wreckage, but it mattered. It reminded me that not all bonds were broken. They'd been good grandparents from day one, and thankfully, they weren't trying to defend the indefensible. I was grateful, more than I could put into words. As for my SDBX, I haven't told her about the recording yet. No reason to. She's still spinning her fantasy version of events to whoever will listen. She keeps texting, alternating between pleading for a sit-down and accusing me of destroying the family. But I'm done being pulled into her chaos. I haven't engaged beyond logistics and the occasional schedule clarification for the kids. Right now, my energy is reserved for two things: my kids and getting through the divorce process cleanly. There's some peace in having clarity, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't still hurt. I gave 15 years to someone who now feels like a stranger, a manipulative, deceitful stranger who weaponized trust and still has the audacity to cry betrayal. It's surreal. And what really kills me is that at one point, I loved her more than anything. But at least now, I know I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining the distance, the phone guarding, the evasive behavior. It wasn't paranoia, it was reality. And now I live with the relief of knowing and the pain of knowing, all at once. What remains now is the well-being of my kids and helping them through the ripple effects. People are starting to talk. Friends, neighbors, people at the school. Some pretend not to notice, others ask questions. I don't give details. I just keep it simple. Mom and Dad are getting divorced. We both love the kids, and they'll be okay. I haven't told them about the affair or the recording. That would serve no purpose except to burn something innocent. They're already going through enough. I stick to a single message: Mom broke Dad's trust. That's why we're not married anymore. But we both love you. My daughter, 13 now, is sharp. She gets it. Probably more than I'd like her to. My son, who's only 10, seems to understand in a softer, quieter way. I worry about both of them, but I'm proud of how resilient they've been. I wish that had been the end of the drama, that things just eased into a new rhythm after all that. But of course, there was one more mess, one more cruel twist that involved the kids directly, and it's one I'll never forget. During one of my SDBX's custody days, she decided, on her own, that it was time to set the record straight with the kids. Her version of straight, anyway. I only learned about it afterward, when my daughter came home visibly shaken and angry. She shut her bedroom door and didn't come out for a while. When she did, I asked gently if everything was okay. She took a deep breath and said, "Dad, you're not going to like what I'm about to tell you, but I think you need to know." They had been at my wife's apartment. Apparently, she sat both kids down and tried to give them her twisted spin. My daughter recounted it word for word, her voice flat with disbelief. "Mom told us that everything happening is because you're mean to her, that she has a friend from work who's a nicer man, that she just wants to be happy." I stared at her, barely able to believe what I was hearing. "She told you that?" I asked, my voice as calm as I could manage. She nodded, and she said, "Daddy is mean to Mommy, and Mommy has a friend who's a nicer man and makes her feel special." My blood ran cold. That was her justification? to a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old, framing her affair partner as a nicer man who just wanted her to be happy. But the best part, the part that gives me hope my kids will come out of this stronger, is what my daughter said next. She looked her mother dead in the eye and told her, "Mom, stop. We know you lied. We know that friend was the guy at the party. If you think he's so nice, go be with him. But don't expect us to approve or like him. And don't lie about Dad." That's what my daughter told her mother, standing right in the kitchen of her apartment. "He has not been mean to you. We were there. We've seen what really happened." I only heard about it afterward, but that conversation stuck with me like a nail driven into my chest. My wife allegedly broke down at that point and tried to hug our daughter. My daughter backed away. "No, Mom. You don't understand," she told her. "You broke Dad's heart. And you hurt all of us. This is all on you." Hearing that secondhand from my daughter later made me feel both proud and broken. She shouldn't have had to be the adult in that situation, but she stood up for what was right, for what she saw. Meanwhile, my 10-year-old son had a much more visceral reaction. He apparently got so upset hearing his mom talk bad about me that he refused to even look at her. When she tried to convince him to stay and finish dinner, he just said, "I want to go back to Dad's house now." That part hit me hard when I heard it. According to my daughter, when she tried to reason with him, he didn't say a word. He just walked into his room, zipped open his overnight bag, and began packing on his own. That's when my phone started buzzing with a flurry of texts from my wife. I didn't see them right away because my phone was muted and I wasn't glued to it. I rarely am unless it's something urgent. There were no calls, just messages, desperate, frantic ones. She said things like, "I don't know what you told them. You've turned the kids against me. They don't even want to talk to me. Can I just drop them at your place?" By the time I read all that, it had already been handled. My daughter had called my brother, her uncle, on her own and asked if he could come pick them up. My brother didn't hesitate for a second. He drove over, collected both kids, and brought them home to me. When they walked through the door, they looked exhausted, angry, disoriented. I did my best to comfort them, sat them down, held them close. I told them I was sorry they had to go through that I loved them more than anything. I told them, "Your mom's having a really hard time owning what she did. And sometimes when people are hurting, they say things that aren't true or fair." I could see the pain in their faces, but I also saw clarity. "I want you both to know," I added, "that it's okay to love your mom. She's still your parent, and I'll always support you having a relationship with her if you want that." But I looked them both in the eyes and continued, "You also never have to accept someone lying to you or mistreating you, no matter who it is. You can set boundaries, even with us." They didn't say much, but they nodded. My daughter whispered, "Thanks, Dad." My son just leaned into me and sat there quietly. Since that night, everything changed. Neither of them has wanted to go back to their mom's place when it's her week. Not once. We've made a temporary arrangement where she comes to visit them at our house, under my supervision. It's awkward, but I didn't want to push the kids into something they clearly weren't ready for. Even those visits are short and tense. The kids mostly retreat to their rooms or make excuses to go to the store, walk the dog, anything. They tolerate her presence, but there's no warmth, no trust, and she feels it. She's told me as much. She's begged me to help repair her relationship with the kids. Begged. I told her flat out, "That's on you." I said, "I can encourage them to be respectful, and I have, but I'm not going to lie for you. I'm not going to force them to forget what they saw and heard. That's not how healing works." She didn't like that answer. She tried to blame me again, said I poisoned them, filled their heads with half-truths. But the truth is, and this is what I told her, the irony is, you did this to yourself. All I ever did was tell the truth. And honestly, I shielded them from the worst of it. Because I did. I didn't tell them everything. I didn't play the recording. I didn't repeat what Andrew said. I didn't break down and rant or call her names in front of them. They figured a lot out on their own. Right now, my priority is making sure the kids feel safe and loved. That's really it. Everything else is noise. I got them into therapy a few weeks after everything began to spiral. I wasn't sure at first if they'd be open to it, especially my daughter, who's been carrying herself like a grown-up through all this. But the therapist has been amazing, and I can already see small shifts. My daughter's been sleeping better. My son's been less clingy at bedtime. And I finally admitted to myself that I needed help too. I started seeing someone as well. I probably should have done that years ago, honestly, even before the mess. There's something powerful about saying everything out loud to someone who's not going to judge or try to fix it, just listen and help you process. It's helping, little by little. Not a magic cure, but a slow rebuild. As for the marriage, it's officially over. Finalized. Done. I've officially been divorced for about a week now. The whole process took 8 months. 8 long, exhausting months of paperwork, court hearings, negotiations, and emotional minefields. And now that it's behind me, I have zero regrets. None. Not even a whisper of doubt. The decision I made to end the marriage immediately, on the spot, when the betrayal was laid bare, was the clearest, sharpest moment of clarity I've ever had. And everything that followed only confirmed I did the right thing. The lies, the gaslighting, the attempt to turn our own kids into pawns, the way she spun stories to friends and family while refusing to truly own up to her choices. Every step she took after that night just proved I'd seen her clearly for the first time in a long while. Now, my focus is simple, crystal clear. Be the best dad I can be. My kids and I, we're doing okay. We've still got hard days, and some wounds are still fresh. But we've built something stronger in all this, an unspoken promise that no matter what happens, we've got each other's backs. They trust me. They feel safe with me. And that means everything. As for my ex, well, she made her choices. I'm not bitter anymore. I'm just done. I hope she finds whatever it was she was so desperate for, whatever thrill or validation she needed. That's not my burden anymore. She's no longer my concern. And no, in case anyone's wondering, she and Andrew didn't even end up together in the end. Last I heard, he backed off, said it was too messy, didn't want to be part of the fallout. So everything she gambled, our family, our anniversary, her credibility with our kids, even her own self-respect, it was all truly for nothing. What a waste. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.